Now, here in the UK, the government has been defeated in court for a second time for not doing enough to meet its targets for cutting greenhouse gas emissions. Environmental campaigners argued that the government's climate plan was signed off without evidence that it could be achieved, and the court ruled that Claire Coutinho, who's Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero here, will now be required to redraft the plan. Let's get more from the High Court. Our climate editor, Justin Rolat, joins us. Justin, just tell us more.
Well, this is a significant blow for the government's climate plans. Just an hour or so ago, campaigners were celebrating outside the High Court what they described as an embarrassing day for the government. The court judged that the government's assumption that all of its policies would deliver all of their intended carbon cuts simply wasn't possible, and therefore they found that the government's climate policy wasn't adequate to meet its legally binding net zero targets. Now, net zero, of course, is when the country isn't adding any additional greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, and getting to net zero by 2050 is a legal obligation under the Climate Change Act. Now, the government responded to today's judgment saying the UK should be proud of its record on cutting carbon. It said that as far as it was concerned, today's court case was more about what it called the decision-making process than its policies themselves, and it said it didn't believe that legal action was the best way to drive ambition on climate change. But as you say, Geeta, the bottom line is this: the government has been defeated in the courts for the second time, and the Energy Secretary needs to go away and redraft the government's net zero plans.
What does that mean in practice that the government will have to do?
Well, the government's saying not very much. It's saying that it's pretty confident that its plans will deliver the carbon cuts that it needs, but it needs to bolster the evidence it uses to show why it has that confidence. This was the big problem that the judges found with the existing plans. There was too much risk that the policies would fail. So they need to present a more convincing case, if you like, that their plans are strong enough. Now, the campaigners would say, actually, they need to do more than that. They need to go away and have a real rethink and begin to target things that we know deliver carbon cuts, like bolstering insulation in our homes, switching to heat pumps, encouraging the move away from petrol and diesel, all of that kind of stuff, which guarantees climate reductions, rather than relying on, for example, things like future zero-emission aviation or carbon capture and storage, which might capture the emissions from industrial processes, that kind of thing. Technologies that haven't yet been proven will deliver the carbon cuts that advocates say they will. So two different opinions there, but the government saying actually it doesn't think it's going to have to change that much. Campaigners saying, listen guys, you need to go back to the drawing board and really raise your ambitions.